We try to run them through a mini community police academy, which covers different areas and topics that the police department does on a daily basis. We have detectives talk to them about homicides. We have an officer talk to them about DUIs, about field sobriety testing. We have them talk about drugs, canine, gangs, traffic law, just the different roles that many officers play in the departments and the police department, and help them to get a better understanding of what we do on a day-to-day basis.
My role was more support, helping with the audio-visual setup, making sure everything was properly set up in the beginning, cleaning up in the end, and having prior 33 plus years of police experience, I could answer some questions that came up the following week when the instructor who taught that class wasn't there.
You know, we had many sessions and they all were fantastic. They really covered a variety of information. I think I learned a lot about gangs on the session we talked about that. They really went into depth and understanding more what that is like to be involved with that, what the police deal with. You know, of course, we got a chance to do some target practice, and that was nice to just experience that, to learn a little bit more about how people use guns and how they handle it, and then obviously the respect you have to have for those types of weapons. Our class had wonderful class discussions. We covered a variety of issues. People really asked some interesting questions here, so I would say we had tough questions, and no one shied away from them. We had really great discussions, so I enjoyed the entire class.
The most fulfilling, or at least the most memorable one that I think I had was clearing a room when entering a space on the interior, not knowing if someone's hiding behind a door or in another room, and I took some of those techniques back to my house to my son with his Nerf gun, and I showed him how to clear a room with his Nerf gun to make sure that no one gets him.
Specifically, I would go back to talk about gangs. Obviously, I've read about them, know a little bit, but understand some of the inner workings, understand some of how the police actually track that down and deal with it. You know, there are some gangs here in the area, and I live in this area, and I don't want to live in in a world with rose-colored glasses. So knowing that people are trying to make this community safe and doing all of that legwork that we often don't know about. And then even we were presented with a lot of the statistics, some of incidents that happened here, and knowing what's going on. It just really showed that the police are very concerned with this community. I know that they have a difficult job in terms of protecting us, and I appreciated learning.
The class was really interesting. It covered a lot of different areas, and I think it put a very human face on the police department. And I think the benefit I think was making the police a lot more accessible to people in the community.
I found almost every class to be pretty interesting. I really got the most out of the use of force class because I didn't realize how many things a police officer goes through in order to make a decision about what kind of use of force is appropriate for the event. So people think, oh, they're going to pull out their gun, but they have a baton, they have mace, they have the taser, and so they have to decide really on the spur of the moment which one of those is appropriate. And also the amount of paperwork and documentation that's required when they use force, even if it's to put down an injured animal. So that was really interesting to me. But there were so many other things. Every class, there was something that I took away from how it all works.
I actually learned more about the community from the members that attended the class. They actually got to see a lot of the different things that officers go through, and then, in week 11, we actually let them role play as officers and let them experience, some of the things that officers go through on a daily basis, from mere interaction with just stop and talk to somebody to actually trying to make an arrest or clear a room for suspects.
One of the most rewarding classes, I believe, was with regards to firearms training. But that was just exciting for me. That was me living out my boyhood dream of firing a weapon. But then it was also, like I said, humbling, and knowing that you have that kind of firepower at your hands, and to respect when that force is being used, and it also gave me an understanding of all the things that the police officer has to think about before he fires or she fires their weapon. I didn't know that you can't just fire a weapon in certain circumstances. There has to be criteria for discharging your weapon. So if you do want to be involved in the city and you want to have a better understanding of one of its departments, I would sincerely encourage everyone to find the time and go through the class. It's about 10 weeks, a couple hours on a Wednesday evening, where you might otherwise be watching a police program and being maybe biased in your view of how policemen might act in unrealistic situations.
I'd like to see the class expanded and offered to more people. I just told someone on the city council it should be required for all of them.
Our goal is to do even more outreach, not just social media, actually going out to different places, different residences, different businesses, and telling them about it, showing it to them, and hopefully getting them to sign up that way. I think they get a better understanding of what the police department does on a daily basis, and I even see it in each of my classes. Something will happen, they'll go, oh, that's why they do that, and then it clicks for them of why we do what we do. And then in the future, they'll know it, and then someone says something like, oh, I already learned about that, this is why we do that, or that's why they do that.